didn't know what I was looking at. Give me a break.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. Just one?
Good little meeting for that.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'll ask everyone to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let the minutes reflect that we have a quorum. 5 of the 7 council members are present. First item on the agenda is the citizens forum. If there's any citizens from the community that would like to address the council, now is the time to do so. As I say, I think you are all on the agenda. So we'll give Facebook just a couple seconds here. Okay. All right, we're live. So let's move on to the consent agenda. A couple changes. Letter C, the city prepaid checks, change that amount to $164,069.08. Again, 164,069.08. And then letter D, the city accounts payable in the amount of $28,654.36. Again, 28,654.36. I need a motion to approve. Okay, motion from Casey, second from Sean, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. On to the agenda. We're gonna move, under presentations and possible discussions, we're gonna move post-prom to letter A. And then everything else will obviously go down B, C, and D from there. And then, under mayor's report, just put elections. And then under administrator clerk treasurer's report, we have a 1, make it a 2 for the MOU for the SRO for the school resource officer. Any other additions or subtractions to the agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion. Okay, a motion from Eric.
Second.
Second from Sean, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, post-prom, Jordan, you're up. You wanna come up, stand by Kim, sit by Kim, whatever you're comfortable with, introduce yourself and.
I'm Jordan Johnson.
I'm Carla Jutman.
We are here on behalf of the Adabor West Junior class parents. We are in charge of the post-prom for the juniors and seniors this year, and we are requesting a donation from the city of Ada to the post-prom funds. We have a lot of different activities planned, some different games. The money could be used for prizes. We have to feed them. It's basically just a time for a safe time for the kids at night until 3 a.m. I think there's a hypnotist planned as well. So any donation would be appreciated.
Do a dollar amount.
Last year was 500, so.
Make a motion to approve a donation for $500 at the prom party.
Okay, I got a motion from Casey in the amount of 500.
Second it.
Second from Kim, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank you. Was it easy? Lisa, you're up next.
Great, thank you. I came tonight just at the request of Ashley and
just kind of wanted to present an idea to you guys. Most of you maybe know me, Lisa Stordahl from Essentia Health Ada. We've worked on the ambulance almost 20 years. And what is happening is, I just want to make this very clear, that I'm researching putting a first responders group together. And this would be a separate entity outside of Essentia Health EMS. Our EMS dynamics have changed. We're not without 911 at any time, so I want to be clear on that as well. We've always got that coverage, always have. But the way our dynamics have changed in recent years is that instead of having 2 fully staffed advanced life support services, where one could respond to a call within kind of our community area, we no longer have that. We now have what is called a transfer rig that goes between Foxton and here. And so that kind of leaves our county with a little bit of a deficit at times. And kind of together with administration, with EMS, with the city, and different disciplines and entities like fire and our law enforcement, we're trying to kind of brainstorm ideas of how we could meet that gap. And so I do have here, I won't take a lot of your time, but I have a little bit of just a generalized idea of what the first response group would look like. Done quite a bit of background work, trying to come up with operating costs, budgeting needs, and that type of thing. Continuing to have lots of visits and talks with the city, just to keep everybody on board. And I guess I'm here today just requesting approval to continue looking at possibilities. And also maybe the request to the community that if there's any kind of brainstorming ideas, if they might have questions, that type of thing. Eric has been one that we have been doing quite a bit together with, talking about training and different ideas and how this first responders group could take, I guess, its nature. What are your thoughts, Eric?
I think, one of the things we've talked about this at public safety, discussed it at public safety. Lisa's been working on this for, probably a number of years. But moving forward, and I think one of the things that we looked at from the standpoint of just kind of talking through some of this, to make sure that we have coverage. A lot of the other communities in the area have first responder units. Okay, there's limitations to those units. We want to be clear that those units can only do certain things. You can't transport. You can't do any advanced life support, any of that stuff. What they can do is be first on scene, making sure the scene is safe, making sure your patient is assessed, and so that that patient is ready for, paramedics when they come in, EMTs when they come in, and they're ready to go. And it'd be strictly a volunteer deal, and we're kind of working through some of that stuff. But just to have people that are trained with a little more medical knowledge and to be able to essentially stabilize somebody, hopefully. And I think we've seen it in the community in the last, last couple months here, last month. And just having the idea of having basic first aid equipment, including AEDs and some of that stuff, can save lives. So she's done a lot of good work with this stuff, really advanced some of this stuff, and really is kind of a catalyst for keeping this thing going. So
So a couple things when Elisa first approached us that we had questions on is obviously when it comes to the city buying into this or helping with this is obviously what our costs are going to be. And Lisa's done a great job of researching if there's state aid, if there's funding. You found funding for training costs, for initial materials. We've explored, and I know you and Bruce went and spoke with, was it Hurley?
Hendra.
And, there's talk about potentially putting it under the fire department. Not that all the fire department members have to be trained in it, but just so that there is last year, there's 114 calls.
Yep, and that was
In
within
Ada.
the Ada, yep, 911 calls within Ada, yep.
So this is just the beginning stages, but I do think that you've done a lot of legwork, and you got a couple trained in Ada. There's a few people that have taken the training course, which is fantastic, and I guess right now you're trying to get the word out to get more people trained in it. So we don't know exactly where it's gonna go yet, but we are exploring the idea of putting it under the fire department, which means it's not, I mean, it would operate like like a volunteer fire department member would. You'd get paid the same as your call outs, but again, you wouldn't have to be you wouldn't have to be trained in the rescue or the fire, you could be separate, it's just housed there, if that makes sense. And you're looking at other communities that do have fire and rescue to see how they combine theirs. What else? You did find state aid, so there are funding available, but it's if it was already established, correct?
Correct,
Yes.
yep. If they had that sponsorship, there's quite a bit out there available. We put a big list together, pretty inclusive, of all the equipment that we could even fathom needing, so that if and when that does become a thing, that we have a grant writer that is ready to and available to help assist with that, so.
So essentially, if we did do Doug and I ran a few numbers, we would be looking at anywhere between 1,400, with 114 call outs, we'd be looking anywhere between $1,400 and $5,000 annually for a salary or for their pay, their hourly pay. With that being said, if the city, we have not discussed who will be in charge of that yet. This is just meant to inform you guys right now.
Yeah.
There's no decisions being made.
First responder groups around, I mean, is there, like,
So,
is everything else kind of
surrounding areas, yes, there's a very well-established one in Shelley, Halstead, Hendra, Twin Valley. I think that's it for our Norman County. We've had a few that have since many years dwindled.
Highway 9,
There's nothing in the close area or the townships. Borup, we do have a responder, that is willing to join or participate, that lives out in that Borup area, but other than that, no, we don't.
Anything else from the council? Well, I guess I'd just say keep up the good work, Lisa, and keep us,
The public safety talks about it
Yeah.
every month, so,
Yeah.
they've been heavily involved in it.
How about if you advertise or something, Lisa, to, see how many people would actually be interested in being a responder? I know maybe put an ad in the index or something like that, or even on KFJB, and just have them call you to see how many people would actually be interested in being a first responder, besides training
That-
some of the fire guys, yeah.
Honestly,
I know she's done that.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
was
she's
gonna
done a lot
say-
of that.
I was gonna say too, Kim, that my first step was the city council meeting and
Mhm.
just the general public. I
Right.
wanted to just kind of let people be aware of what we're looking at. I've had talks with Preston and Jim both on doing a possible interview in the future and maybe getting the word out there
Okay.
that way. So
Sure.
definitely, I agree.
Good deal.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do, Al's disposal first. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You were gonna sit here. and yours is gonna be a lot longer than theirs.
Put me on the spot right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep you on your
There
toes.
should be
Yeah.
plenty there. Want to take one of this for now?
Right, as Charlie leaves.
Yeah, right.
He's gonna come back, yeah.
Are you supposed to take a spot?
I can't take Charlie's spot.
Well, in general,
That'd be tough to do.
so it's spring, fun time, the way the weather's coming across, and hopefully it sticks around, but it's time to talk about cleanup again. Just checking to see, these are the dates that I'm proposing, it's the same time we do it every year, the first weekend of May, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And just checking to see if we'd still be able to use the gravel parking lot, or if you'd like us to use a different location, and all that jazz. So it'd be, yeah, Thursday, May 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m., Friday, May 3rd from noon to 6 p.m., and then Saturday, May 4th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So the same days throughout the week and the same times that we have done in the last few years.
I guess the more important question is for you guys, do you guys wanna see it anywhere else, or what do you guys wanna see different that the city can help with? Cause on our end, anytime anybody can get rid of any of their trash and blight and everything else, it helps us obviously, so.
Helps a lot.
Yeah.
Location wise, I guess, to me, I guess I noticed with the customers coming through, and just, it's nice to have that way, come in one way and go out another. Helps, yeah, keeps the cluster down, so nobody's really getting hurt, and it's the traffic flowing. And yeah, but.
So I guess, yeah, because it takes a lot of rooms. I mean, that's a nice parking lot that, and like you said, you can control traffic to a degree. I mean, granted, I know we get long lines at points, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, you can only get rid of stuff so fast, so.
The only other place that I can think of is, I guess I can't think of any place right offhand.
No, it just.
Because that weekend would also be the school prom. Isn't that the same weekend? The fourth, yeah. So I mean, even out there would be cool to have it out that way, traffic wise.
I think we have a
City
discussion
dump gets too greasy.
Yeah, it's way too greasy.
We have a discussion with Nick again, just to make sure it's okay. Like I said, she's been good, obviously, in the past, so
Yep.
I think that's okay with you guys.
Yep.
So.
And then everybody knows where that's. You got them kind of trained to that area right now, so.
Okay.
So, I guess that's, again, I guess if there's anything you want to see different, if you want, longer hours or something, that's just have to keep in mind that, my staff, they work the normal shift and they're coming for second shift doing cleanup, so it does get to be a Saturday where we're all ready to call her quits. We're tired.
You and Ashley, you guys will work on the pamphlet again.
Yep.
Get that out as soon as possible, get it
Yep.
paper and radio. Perfect.
Should probably get involved, Glenn Visser, if he's gonna be, should get a hold of him and have him consult on the pamphlet or whatever, so.
That's all.
I'll contact her.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right, Brandon, I'm not bumping you anymore.
No.
You're right.
Yeah, I do have quite a few things tonight, so move me around as much as you need to. So I got a bunch of stuff, starting with kind of stuff that we got ongoing, and then we'll move into say future planning. So ongoing stuff in the last month with the Phase 2 sewer project. Celine had gotten another contractor to come out and do the relining. There's still one stretch that's left. It's 6-inch, which requires some customized equipment, but basically that's all that's left on the project. So they're still trying to get someone who could do that smaller size reline, but other than that, it's basically done and up and running as it should, so that's good. Lead line service inventories. The state has started kicking those back to us to start getting to work on them. You guys have not come up yet. They've started with like the smaller communities. You talk about the Neilsvilles and the Shelleys and stuff. Those have started to come up, and then they're kind of working their way to bigger communities. So hopefully you guys come up in the next month or two, and then we'll have a whole bunch of stuff that we get to dig through and go over. But at this point, we're just waiting to hear back from the state as to, hey, go ahead and run.
So when we got the notification last month that we were on the list, that was just letting us know we were on the list.
That was basically
Okay.
saying, hey, you're on the list. We're going to work out an agreement
Okay.
with an engineer to start the work.
Okay.
So it's basically you're on the list, everything's go. We're starting to get the go ahead and work
Okay.
from the state on our smaller communities. So hopefully we get the go ahead and work regarding you guys here in the next month or two. So Any questions about those two? Okay, and then after the last council meeting, we talked about some future projects, and about a week after the council meeting, we had a meeting at City Hall to kind of go over, you guys have some building projects and also infrastructure projects, and there's kind of two that we discussed. So the first one, and I'm going to kind of mix them around from my list here. The first one would be the next step of the sewer projects, and so clean water project priority list applications were due March 1. So we had put together basically the sewer project that they're finishing up now would be a phase 2. In 5-6 years ago, kind of a large facility plan to analyze all of your sewer was done by us. Carved everything up into a number of phases, and so the one we're finishing up now would be a phase 2. And so we had put, after discussion, we put together a proposed phase 3 project and put it on that project priority list. Now, that doesn't obligate you to do anything, but you got to be on the list to move forward, and it gets us a placeholder. So when you guys are ready to take that step, we've kind of cleared that first hurdle. So that was put together and submitted on March 1. Working through that, and we'll find out kind of the idea behind moving forward is we did that big facility plan, and that got you a number ranking. And so as we're doing continued phases of that original plan, we get to maintain that original number ranking instead of having to start over. And since we've done sewer projects, the need for some of that tends to go down. So we want to maintain that original facility plan, and this is a continuation of that original plan that was done 5-6 years ago. So that's in the works. There's no date, there's no time set, but that was one of the projects that had come out of that meeting that we've now kind of taken the step we need to move that forward. So, any questions on that?
Well, like Brandon said too, that doesn't obligate us to anything.
Nope.
It's basically just a placeholder. It gets us on a list of future activities, hopefully, and we gotta start somewhere.
Yep, that, and depending on where the state's at money-wise, we get put on the list, we get put on the ranking, and then all of a sudden we start looking at, okay, how far does grant money from the state go? And so if that grant money's there, we want to be able to pounce on it. And that's kind of the reasoning of getting on that list now. Even if you're not thinking, even if with the timing and everything else going on, you guys don't pull the trigger on it for another couple of years, at least we're on that list. If the money becomes available, we're able to take advantage of it. Any questions on that? Okay, and then the second project was what I'm calling, is it Reggie 2?
Yep.
Future housing development. And so we had talked about some different options, and there's that existing, it is platted, but it's undeveloped on the west side of town, north of the Reggie addition. Just some preliminary looking at between like 16 and 20 lots. We kind of talked, again, high level, what does it look like? And so next steps, if you guys want to move forward with, looking to do a project, develop that infrastructure, have some lots for sale. Next steps would be doing a more in-depth engineering study to determine two things, which would be the feasibility. When you look at sewer, can we service 18 lots? Can we service 20? Can we service 22? What does it look like? And then determine a cost. And what that is okay, here's the cost of it. We break it down on a per lot. When you guys know, okay, assessments out here are going to look to be about this range. Can we sell lots at this? And then you can kind of make the determination, do we want to move forward into designing a project, building a project? If we wanted to start that study now, look to complete that here in the spring months, look to design in the summer and bid a project to possibly build 2025, if that's what you guys were looking for in a timeline-wise. That's what we had discussed at the meeting. Talked about a lot of stuff, but that's kind of the high level. And then, I don't know, is there anything you want me to add from next steps, what you guys are looking for?
I think what John and I were thinking when we talked with you too is one thing. I know both of us get contacted on a monthly basis about lots for sale in town. So even if at the time that we develop and kind of get the costs put together, if it's too much right now, at least we have those lots. And if we decide that we're going to do this in 2025 or 2026, we can potentially start selling those lots, or at least have a plan so people know what's out there. Because right now, we don't even know how many lots, what's going to happen, and so that was our idea. I would personally like to see the timeline that you just stated.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in that meeting discussing that along with all of our other issues that we'll be discussing later, but part of it was the phone calls that, again, Ashley and I get every week about lots of sale. Obviously, Rady 1 is full, we're done. We're landlocked in the city, as everyone knows, because of the levy. There are hardly any buildable, if any buildable lots throughout the city, especially for a $250,000 to $1 million home. The infrastructure's out there. We've talked about, Brandon has a diagram. I think 13 lots on the west side of the road, up
Something
to the
like
tree
that.
line.
Yep.
4 on the east side of the road, which would have been Cougar 3 button up against it, so the potential of 17 good-sized lots too.
Yeah, depending on what we did on the north side, that number can change a little bit.
That north 5.
Yep.
And again, that would be up to the council to figure out how we want to plat that moving forward, but at least if we give Brandon and more engineering the go-ahead to look into this feasibility study, see how much it's gonna cost us, see how much if we can even sell it. You know, we sold the last lots for 10,000 with specials anywhere from 15 to 20. You know, so you're talking 30 grand. So are these lots gonna be similar? Are they gonna be 50? You know, then you gotta ask yourself if you can realistically sell them. But we don't know that until you guys give Brandon the go ahead to spend a couple dollars and see if that's possible.
And if you wanted to move forward with the study, I wouldn't start tomorrow. What I'd do is I'd put together a scope and fee on this is what we're going to, from a study standpoint, here's what More Engineering is doing, here's how much it's going to cost you guys, and I'd bring it to the next meeting. So you would know what we're doing before you have to authorize us to do work. It's just, is this the next step, kind of answering preliminary questions. One thing we did discuss is, you know, there's the north-south road, and we had talked about developing on the west side. So the east side would be the Cougar Edition, but from a high level look at that, with a depth of sewer that's currently out there, it appears to be far more feasible to develop that west side first, just because getting in on the east side of that road most likely would require a sanitary lift station, and now that's a cost maintenance type thing. Whereas if you're looking to get lots in, we can do that without that lift station. It looks like we can do that
Just
without
on
the lift
west
station
side, just
component
so everyone's clear.
on the west
On
side.
the west side of Cougar
Yep.
Edition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, that's why there'd only be 4 lots, maybe 3 again, depending on what the council decides. Butted up to the road, just because the infrastructure is closer from the west.
Yep.
Tyson was in that meeting too, just for your guys' reference. And I think Brandon and Tyson both had a lot of good information. It's our idea that hopefully you guys see the need in it just as much as we do. We've talked a lot about it at the EDA meetings, and having housing availability throughout town. Logistically, this is our only option to facilitate that as a city.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do we have to make a motion and go ahead for the feasibility study?
No.
Or what?
So like I said, I'll put together a scope and fee and I'll bring it to the next
Okay.
meeting. So you guys can kind of see, okay, this is what, and so from a timeline standpoint, you know, bringing to the April meeting, okay, let's work on a study, do that over the next couple of months, and that would also help nail down, okay, what does the layout look like? Are we talking 17 lots, are we talking 15, are we talking
Right.
18? What does that kind of look like? And then at the end of that, let's just say midsummer, late summer, we can say, okay, here's the high level plan, right? We know we can service it, and then from our engineers' cost estimates, ultimately it's got to go out to bid and be built. But from our engineers' cost estimate, it's going to be X dollars per lot to develop this. And then you guys can have a decision or a discussion amongst yourselves is, hey, can we sell 16 lots at whatever piece? And then at that point, you can make a decision, okay, do we want to design this thing fall, winter? Say, bid a project in spring, late winter, spring of 2025, and then realistically having infrastructure completed in 2025. I mean, that's the timeline if you guys really want to rock and roll on this. Now, again, you can get through the study, like Ashley said, you get through the study, you have those costs, things come up, right? We've learned that, but at least you have the information.
At least we have a plan, so we're able to communicate that with the community members and those looking to move to the community.
And Tyson and Brandon both said too that the contractors right now are hungry, so that plays into our favor, hopefully moving forward, if we keep some of this cost in this. Yeah, well, I don't hear any objections, Brandon.
Yeah, I'll put that together and I'll bring it, that'll be on my agenda for next month. I'll try to send it down a little early so you guys have a little bit of time to dig through it.
Sure.
So it's less me explaining it to you. And if it's something where you want me to come to Public Works Committee or whatever committee to explain that, I can do it too. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
Great.
Okay, that's all I got. Does anyone have anything for me?
When you send that, Brandon, I know council has it, but just so they have it in front of them, can you send that diagram the way it's planned right now?
Yep.
I have that.
Yeah,
But we're
just so you
making
guys,
changes.
yeah, but just so you guys can start thinking, and then when you send that out, can you do the revision of those top 5?
Yes. If you go on a GIS map right now, it's actually parceled and platted out. So
Yeah,
you
it's
can see
already
it.
platted.
It's already on the Norman County GIS map, so you can see it, but we are tweaking some of what's on there.
We'd like to tweak
We'd
some
like
of
to
it.
tweak some of it, but yeah, I can send out to everybody too, and make those
Okay.
changes.
Perfect. Thanks, Brandon.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Okay, moving on to reports of department heads and committees, mayor's report. The only thing I had, and I asked Ashley this today because I had an individual ask me in the grocery store. We have 4 council members that are up this year. Sean, Scotty, Erickson, Mike, and then Eric, since he took over Josh's before 2 years was up, his term is actually up in November as well. So we will have 4 open spots on the ballot this November. Deadline is, believe, early August, somewhere in there, so we'll talk about it a little bit more as we progress and get closer to that timeline. I just want to bring it to the public's attention, your guys' attention, if you have any interest in rerunning, just so that date and that number's up there, so.
Eric's would be a two-year term.
Correct.
And then the rest are 4.
Administrator, clerk, treasurer's report.
Before we get into the DECO thing, I just wanted to touch on a couple things with our other departments. First of all, with the police department, 2 weeks ago, they did do some compliance checks in town. There was only 3 facilities open that were serving alcohol. One of them passed and 2 of them failed. That was being out, letters will go out to those businesses. Unfortunately, the 2 businesses that failed also failed a year ago. So we, according to our ordinances, it's a $500 fine on them. The other thing that the police department got, and we'll be talking a little bit more about public safety, and Steve just kind of mentioned it to me, but they did get a grant, the Towards Zero Deaths grant, which will be beneficial to us starting in the fall, and it'll help pay for overtime for any patrol officers that are out there, which could actually benefit us too with this new officer coming on, eventually the school resource officer coming on as well. So, a couple of positives there. Positive and negative, I guess. Liquor store, February sales were awesome. They were up about $4,000 from last year. And I want to contribute that to all the advertising and all the events and everything we did with KRGB and that over February. That's all I got for the department. So we can move on to the DECO Center rehab projects. Brianna has put together the packet for you guys. So the first sheet that you have in here is all the estimated costs. Now this is a sheet, so the last 2 months you guys have seen a sheet that has had multiple costs for each, from each area. And we took does everybody have one? Oh, yeah. Yep, so this is just these are just the contractors that were chosen or selected, either had the lower cost or just made more sense. You can see at the end of it.
Okay.
Total was $770,000, and then we put on about a $30,000 contingency, for anything that went wrong. Well, we can talk about that first before we get into the next thing. We want to talk about the newest bid, and then the difference that is here from last month is the brickwork.
The brickwork, and it is a 32-page, it's the big part of your packet here. This company,
I asked her, hey.
I'm fine. The big part is the masonry. and we knew that was coming. If you look at about page 6, the base bid scope of the repairs, that is the whole wall on the top of the roof. When we toured the facility with you guys, it's the wall that basically is the east wall of the pool area. We all know that wall is seen better days. You can see the cracks in the brickwork, and the wall is actually bowing out a little bit. So in this report, if you guys had a chance to look it over, it's like the most amazing explanation of how all of this is going to potentially be done. It is a company out of the cities. They're out of Fridley, Minnesota. But they would come up and they would basically be here for between 2 to 3 months. And basically they would take that whole wall down and re-put the gypsum board. The sheathing is what they call it. They'd install new sheathing and install new moisture barrier, new brick, and new CMU. The CMU is that bigger brick on the top, and then the regular brick is on the bottom there. When we had the Herzog Roofing Company come in and they pulled that roof back about 3 weeks, it was, I think, maybe a couple days after the last council meeting. Or was it before the council? Okay, I couldn't remember if we had done that before or after the council meeting. When we pulled that wall back, we found that all of the gypsum board and the vapor barrier is crumbling behind it. So, and that's just on that parapet, that 12, 13-inch top of the wall. We don't know what's underneath that. We have not had any brickwork taken off of that wall. So this bid also has alternates on it. In the alternate scope of repairs is on the next page, and it basically lays it all out. It's all color coded. We're removing bricks off of the top of the windows and replacing all of that. We have to put a new wicking system behind the actual window areas. So it's like a weep system. Right now we have plastic pipes that come out. The flashing was all caulked along the whole flashing. They said that's not really the way it should be done, because it's blocking some of those weeping points, and so the moisture doesn't have anywhere to run out. Brick is very porous, and so when you start seeing I think they called it fluorescence, it's the white that comes out of the brick. You can see in the pictures we have a lot of that on that east wall. So if you go into the repair details, it actually has the blueprints. I contacted the architectural company and had them send digital copies of the blueprints, so we could send out to all these masonry companies so they could kind of get a look at it before they came up and actually saw it. They would take that brick all the way down. They'd put up the new gypsum sheathing. When they take that brick down, they don't know what exactly they're going to run into. We have steel studs in this building, and so we're hoping that we don't have to put new interior steel studs on the walls, but that is why we put in that $29,000 contingency on this project, because we don't know what we're going to run into. It could be something that is an issue, just so you guys know ahead of time. Basically what their company wants to do is take that parapet off the top, run a vapor barrier down the side wall, and then flush it with the actual wall. So that right now what we have is we have hot air escaping out of the pool area and cold air coming in through that roof cap and through the brick where we have all the cracks and gaps, and they're meeting and they're colliding and they're forming condensation behind. So we're rotting all of the vapor barrier and gypsum board from behind the brick. Obviously that's not a good combination when you live up in Minnesota and you have freezing and everything else. The brick is not structural, it's a facade. The steel beams and the steel is what's holding up the wall. So we're not as concerned with the structural part of it, because it's just a good look. I guess if you want to say it's not a structural bearing. But there's always things that we can find when we run into walls. The through walls, the flashing at the window lintels, that's where they wanna take about 3 to 4 bricks up and put all that new, all of the new weeping system in above all the windows on the outside, especially in the pool area. And then they would re-put in new brick ties, 16 inches on center, to put that brick back into.
This bid includes the roof as well. Like,
Mhm.
Herzog Roofing come back out and repair everything.
Yeah, what Ryan said is that he would actually work with our roofing company, because after we got this bid and I was going through it, I did have a few questions for him. So I wanted to know, is our warranty still gonna be good on our roof? Because right now we have a 15-year warranty. That roof went on in 2016, just for you guys that are newer to the council. So we put a new roof on by Herzog Roofing Company in 2016. We have a 15-year warranty on that. So we wanted to make sure when they cut that rubber membrane on the roof back, we wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna lose our warranty on the roof because of that. So Ryan said he would work with Herzog Roofing to make sure that we would be able to put the membrane back, get it all sealed up, and have everything still be legit. In speaking with Ryan, we talked to him about timelines. And if this were to go, his company meets weekly. I told him the soonest that we'd be able to tell him yes or no, or for sure anything, would be after April 2nd. He can't guarantee that they would be able to start in May, but they're looking at like a May-June timeframe and having about a 3-month project kind of option on it. That also includes the tuck pointing, every sealant joint. It includes all the expansion joints, caulking all of those areas to make sure that, because right now it's not good. Just so you guys know, tuck pointing should be done every 2 to 3 years on regular maintenance on a brick building, and sealing and the sealant and the expansion joint should be every 15 years. So that's something that we need to look on putting on the radar for maintenance in the future, so that we get on a regular schedule and we have that checked, so that these things don't come up, because half of the total project cost is brickwork and masonry on this building.
What would be down during that time?
During the masonry work,
Probably just the outside pool.
possibly the wading pool, but otherwise we'll be able to move, like we'll just have a back area roped off where they can get their lifts and equipment and people. He said there might be some noise in the pool area, but it's something that we can work around. Yep.
How about just as I'm thinking of it, and hopefully council's thinking of some questions, we're gonna, we talked earlier today, explain about the windows. As far as talking about the sentiments.
Yep, so, the masonry company would do all of the caulking of the windows on the outside. We wouldn't actually have them do the caulking on the outside, because if you look, there's a bid for windows in here also from, Resco Window Company. That's to replace the wading pool doors, the glass in the wading pool doors, the hardware. It's also to replace the clip system. So in talking to this Resco Window Company, we don't actually have to pull the frames of the doors and the windows. We can just replace the clip system and replace it with a thermal glass that is going to help keep about 20 degrees temperature out of that pool area, which is gonna help regulate a little bit more, which might give us a little more life on our pool pack also. It's a possibility, it's not a guarantee, but that tinted glass is going to give a little bit more cushion. Now, the window company wants to do all of the caulking, because then that way we have their warranty on their work on their windows. And if you look at the bid for the, it would change the caulking bid. We just included all the bids, so you guys had everything available. It would probably change that caulking bid by, it would go down to probably about, I would say $8,000 to $10,000 instead of being $25,000.
And the doors and windows are for every window.
In the pool area.
In the pool area, so all the
Correct.
ones along the walking track as
Even the
well.
walking track windows, because they all have to be redone at this point. They're 32 years old. Yeah. Yeah, the Ellingson coping bed, that would go down to about $10,400. Because if you look at that bid, there was for the pool area inside, for windows inside and out was $14,960, and for control joints was $8,300. So you can take those last two items out. That's why we had them break it apart into three different areas. That way we kind of knew what we were talking about and going with.
So before we move over to the excavator bond, there's any questions on
Any of the
any of
bids?
the bids or what's being done or anything?
Contractors.
That's what we should talk about, and then we'll move on to what the bond is look like.
So, I've been a part of a couple of the building projects at the school now. If I do the math correctly, that's about 4% contingency. There's no way that's enough.
We have some other options that are coming.
You know,
We'll talk about the
just so we
tax
are on the
payment
same
here
page,
in a
yeah,
second.
just so we're on the same page.
Yep.
Like, I think minimum is 10.
I'm just
That-
giving you bare
no,
bones,
I
like
get it.
trying to save as much money as possible, and we'll talk about those other options in a minute.
I get it, but I think we should start high and hopefully come down, okay? Because I think everybody knows that that building holds water every day. I mean, there's no way we're gonna open its wall up and everything's good. No way.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be higher than maybe 10% even. So I think we need to prepare for that here and with the tax stuff, instead of looking for another 50 grand.
Later down the road.
Well, like Ashley said too, let's ask questions about the bids, cause we did talk to Jason today. I do have a couple more options for you guys as far as the next game goes. As far as the,
Okay, so on that, I would say these miscellaneous things, in my mind, are the things that are gonna get off the list.
You can't cut those off the list.
As we don't have money.
But you can't cut all those, Sean.
No, I'm not saying.
No, no,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying some of this stuff's gonna have to go when we're out of money.
State regulation says we have to have a water fountain in a pool area if it's over 1,600 square feet.
And that's fine.
Right now, we don't have a working one. So that's $1,600 to put in a new water fountain. We have to have a working eye wash station back in the chemical room. $750. You're right, there are a couple things on here that don't matter.
So those two should actually happen before this is done, I think, in my mind. 'Cause it's under the $5,000. I think it should just be ordered. Am I wrong there? If we have to have it, if we have to have it, I mean, I know how my building has to have an eye wash station. I understand that. It's gotta be ordered, I guess.
Right, but that's what I'm
Otherwise-
saying, there's
otherwise we're gonna
miscellaneous
get a
things that didn't
fine.
fall under a flooring, a caulking, window and doors. They're not just miscellaneous, like they're not needed. They're miscellaneous because I just didn't
Yep.
separate each one out line
Nope,
item by
that's why
line
we're
item.
talking about it,
So,
But some of the other stuff, I'm just gonna pick out the weight room equipment. It would be great, it would be great,
but the weight room equipment, if you look at the, here's the, go on to, in your folders, go to the very, 3 pages from the back. The weight equipment that we're looking at is not, this weight equipment is probably 15 years old. It is not any of the new, it's not anything that's new. It's a new step, which right now there's 2 in there, and the one has definitely seen better days. But you can't get on one of those pieces of equipment from 8 to noon. They're booked. They're busy, aren't they, Kim? They're for rehab. People use them for rehab.
Exactly.
The stair stopper is probably 20 to 25 years old. It was probably original when that building was built. It's it doesn't really work real great. The leg press, extension press is something that we absolutely don't have, and people have been asking for it. The bench for the weight tower I don't know if we can fix the one we have much longer anymore. Casey? Right. And the elliptical, these are all refurbished pieces of equipment for this amount of money. They're not even new pieces of equipment, they're refurbished. It's not even looking at new items. They're things that we need in order for our members to keep paying memberships and keep active and keep well.
We have people that are using some of the equipment in there in ways that it's not supposed to be used because they don't have another option, and we're actually breaking stuff in there. So what Brianna's talking about is kind of foreshadowing some of that.
So I understand when we're talking 15,000 of weight equipment, or weight room equipment, I would love to say, sure, let's not. But John and I had a conversation earlier today, and he flat out asked me, what are we going to need to do in 3 years? What are we going to need to do in 5 years? I said, everything that I had on the plan that was sent out in August is in this project. Everything that was on the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7 year, because in 5 years and in 7 years, we're going to be asking for this money and probably more because
Other than the pool pack.
the pool pack is not on here.
That's 200.
We're gonna get more light
I'm gonna try.
That was my comment.
That's-
Ashley's comment.
It has to be
It's
better.
sealed up,
Absolutely,
then-
that's my goal.
It can't be.
For reference, that 15 grand is less than 2%.
I'm just saying.
No, and I'm just making sure we're all on the
there's a
same
time
page.
that-
We're talking a very small portion of the entire bond obligation.
When we get out, when we're out of money, we need to start somewhere, and I think we should have a plan for where.
So you're saying keep it in there, but
I'm not
if
saying
we-
get rid of it, no, that's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying,
But
I'm
you're
just saying,
saying-
and
But if
eventually
it
we're
comes
gonna
down
run
to
out
the
of money.
nitty gritty, you're saying
I'm not saying
eliminate
it has
some
to
of
be
this.
Yeah.
But that goes back to your contingency. plan.
Okay, let's
Right.
just, let's just go on to
Okay.
let's go on to the,
So-
then we can go back.
Yeah, so then, to follow up on your first point, I met with Ashley this morning, and I met with Brianna, and I talked about the total bond obligation of $800,000 you guys got back. In an ideal world, we were all hoping it was gonna be under $500,000. Then the Bush came in, and obviously that didn't happen and isn't gonna happen. That building isn't gonna fix itself. I, with Sean, asked the question, is $30,000 in contingency enough? I don't think it is. So,
And I think the reason why we put it in there is Brianna was trying to keep it as low as
correct,
possible.
no, it's not a
yeah.
fault of you, and,
Yeah.
cause
Yeah.
you're trying to keep the price down, I understand
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But, my argument would be, you know, if we're gonna do a bond for it, let's go here, and let's not make it an
Exactly.
empty check. But if we need it, when they tear that wall apart, I don't, and I told Brianna this, I don't wanna come back and use up the $50,000 in our maintenance fund because we didn't plan for enough money, because then we're done, then we're out. So, I had Ashley reach out to Jason and come up with some scenarios, so write this down just so everyone's on the same page and we can have a discussion. At the $800,000 mark, the original mark for the estimates that Brianna and Brian have got, that's in your guys' packet, it comes out to a annual payment of $82,000. Okay? If you wanted to cut back to $700,000, the annual payment would be $68,000. If, and this is my suggestion, if you wanna go to $900,000 with the idea that it's not an empty check, that it's in case of an emergency. Ash and I and Brianna talked about this, that we're all on the same page. The annual payment only goes up to $89,000.
For 900,000.
For
For 900, yeah.
$7,000 per year. For $100,000. In the case of emergency.
And I guess, just throwing this out here, and you were talking about those walls, and having been there and peeled back some of those walls in the past, yeah, I 100% agree, you're not gonna like what you see back there. And that's just, yeah, you know, whenever, and we used to run into that exact same concept back before you had the air handlers, where we had fresh air intake, but you also had humidity exhausting. We're talking ice cubes this big. The only way you get those out is with a baseball bat. So, and I'm not kidding, I mean, that was sometimes an hourly deal. So that condensation is also probably contributing to that bowing of the walls with the freezing.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
gotta.
and contract, so I agree that if we're gonna do that, that contingency definitely needs to be.
When they rebuild the walls, are they gonna do, the same style that is, that it's been?
No,
Are they
and
gonna try to do something that may not have
no,
this
when you
problem
look
in
in
the
that packet, it shows exactly how they're gonna put those walls back together again.
I think it's working. Looked at for years,
Right.
It hasn't been top point, and it hasn't been,
Correct.
whoever, well, it doesn't matter.
It's something that got neglected that,
One time.
Okay.
When I was there, when we did the roof, we did touch pointing, that was the first time.
Okay. I know we look at ours every year.
And I don't
Not
know
saying
if
it's
it was
fixed
$10,000
every year,
budget.
but it's.
So
it's
it didn't, it didn't hit much.
I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Yeah, of course.
Let's do it right.
Right.
You gotta go for 900,000, bite the bullet, get her done. I mean, you got a company out there doing it, all those alternates, get it done right, it'll never be cheaper. You know, in the future, it's gonna have to be done sometime. And then, we'll get as much other stuff we can, if it comes down to the end and you gotta make decisions, then you do.
Right, yeah.
But you're giving yourself room to work here.
Just for reference from a percentage standpoint, for like a sewer infrastructure project, let's just say $2 million sewer project, we like to have a 10% stable when you do it. This is a smaller project, which typically bigger fluctuations have, say changes have a bigger impact on that percentage. And it's a building project, which has a lot more unknowns to it. So just for reference from a contingency percentage standpoint.
Back on the pistol side of things, where is the Deco Foundation sitting on this still?
So I'll touch on that. Okay, so we are gonna submit a report to now that the budget is finalized and so part of the report we're gonna submit to the DECO Foundation is we have to show what we're contributing. So if we can report that we're going back and we're taking out money for this, is part of the budget plan to submit to them. So we're gonna go in with a 2-to-1 match. So if they were to come back and give us that 66% of the total cost of this, we're also going to add in the pool pack on above and beyond this. So we're gonna ask for almost $1 million project from them. If they were to do that, we would have to set it in a fund. Jason said there's a call date on this, so it's not like we can just go in and pay off our bond. We're committed to these 15 years. Possibly he said there might be a call date of 7 or 10 years. So we're committed to that extra interest. I mean, at the end of things, it's gonna be a $1.2 million project. Or whatever we end up at the beginning of 900. But we don't wanna ever guarantee that the DECO Foundation is going to, they could do a 50-50 match, which would still be amazing. We put that into a fund and every year we make the annual payments, we would take 50% out of that fund and 50% out of the tax levy that we're gonna have to have for this. So that will be submitted here. We're still looking at about 90, they said 90 days
Yep.
turnaround. So we hope to submit it now after knowing what's gonna happen after this.
we basically had to finish getting all the bids, cause they want total project. They wanna know exactly,
So they wanna know everything, just like what Jason did here. I mean, if you see the total project up on top, it's a scary number, it's 893. Well, that's including all the insurance too. So they wanna know, just like that, we have to do with the DECO Foundation. I'm hopeful. I think we've had really great discussions with them, but you can never guarantee anything.
it still goes before a board, and there's 6 people that sit, I believe 6
Yeah.
people that sit on that
Yeah.
board, that make the decisions, so.
But that would be our next step after this. Now, tonight, if you guys do approve this at 900 or 800, whatever you do, this is not your final approval. This is not meeting. If you approve this, then Jason will put together the paperwork. Basically, he has to do a study of all the households, whatever we determine, which will be residential households, because it affects everybody in Ada. We're not talking about a street or
Right.
certain areas of town. And put together that study, it'll give an idea of what each taxpayer will be paying towards this project. Now, that doesn't mean that that's guaranteed. When we do our tax levy, we can, what we've done before, Friday, have them get it in the paper on Tuesday. It needs to run for 2 weeks. We'll have the public hearing then at our April 2nd meeting. Public hearing after that is when you guys will make the actual decision, we're taking this out or we're not taking this out. So you have another month, but today your approval would mean that we would move forward with that study.
And a number.
And a number. We need to have that number because he needs to. whatever
finalize the
study he does,
paperwork.
He has to go based on that
So
number.
I'll make a motion to lay on the table here that, to make a motion at 900,000.
Okay, I have a motion from Casey. I'll
Second it.
Second, Sean, $900,000. Comments?
Like you said, this isn't committing us to anything, it's just getting a ball rolling.
No, and I think, that's the main thing too, because you're gonna have some feedback from the public, the community. Hopefully you guys get a bunch, good or bad, any kind of communication from the community in the next 2 to 3 weeks before our next council meeting, so that you guys can make the best decision, obviously moving forward with taxpayer dollars. I think anybody that would go visit Brianna, I think should be happy to take them through the facility.
I will give them a tour any day.
And show them what's going on, so
Yep.
keep that in mind as well, but I would urge the public to reach out to myself or Ashley or any of the council members or Brianna, and, that way we can make a decision, give them a second, and get the ball rolling, so we get back open 100%. Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Kick some ass.
Thanks, Brianna.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the MOU for the school resource officer. I hope you guys have all read it. Ashley sent it out. I have read it. I approve of it. I think it's very well written. A lot of it clearly states that we can back out of it at any time with written consent. They're splitting the cost, obviously, for the uniforms and other stuff, which I thought was a good gesture. I thought it read very well, and
I'll make that motion.
okay, got a motion from Eric. Second from Scott and all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. With that, I'm gonna say something, we're gonna leave that off, actually. Okay, moving on to new business. Kaleidoscope guests for March, Sean and Casey, Thursday, 9 o'clock. Okay. All right, let's see, we got some donation requests, and I asked Ashley earlier, you guys, there was $1,100 in the budget before tonight. You guys have already given away $500, so there is $600 left through the month of March. So we're all on the same page.
A couple things about our donation. Right now, while our insurance is still trying to figure out if the building will be covered or not, we will take care of all lost revenue, which means they will take an average amount of what we did receive for family. So we will be getting that. I don't know when, I don't know, and we've submitted all of the reports to them, so it's sitting there in a file.
That's a big.
Yeah, so, they're obviously covering lost rent that we receive, and they're covering for all the events that we have there. We've sent that all over to, our insurance adjusters. With that being said, if for some reason they come back in, well, what now, 2 to 3 weeks and say, okay, we're not covering it, I mean, then we're done. So we just don't wanna get too far ahead of ourselves when we're doing donations until we know what's gonna happen for sure. Now, we still get donations from the pub. So we still get a small amount, but that was usually about $300-400 on the check, and the rest of it was from Main Street. So, not that we don't have anything, but just keep that in mind.
So, first one, Northern County Raceway sponsorship. You guys all have the package. I'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, it's way.
Keep in mind their sponsorship packages, these aren't necessarily donations.
What did we do
but
last year? Did we?
Last year we
I didn't think so.
Obviously, right now, with this situation, I don't think we can move forward with
I
this.
think we can table it, can't we?
I'm not saying
Yeah.
we can't in the future, but
Yeah.
right now, I'm guessing this is, yeah, we need to probably hold back on this.
Mhm.
Okay, any disagreement with Sean? Okay, Cody Holton Memorial Scholarship softball team. Same thing, you guys will notice on the printout, there is 4 different levels, I'll call them,
Mm-hmm.
ranging anywhere from 50 to 1,000 plus. And literally everywhere, their letter is not asking for a specific amount, like Ashley referenced last year, you guys sent them for anything. I was gonna say-
500 last
Excuse me, 500. Okay. Okay, table, discussion, or a motion? Please.
Yeah. I think we do what we did last year, brings a lot of people to the community. That's what this money is for in my mind, bringing people here. Is that a motion? That's a motion. A second.
Yeah, okay. Got a motion from Sean, a second from Casey, the amount of $500. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, Preston Guard Family Benefit. You guys have $100 left.
I think we need to also pass on this one.
Table it,
That's
table
very
it,
hard to say, but I think we need to pass on this one.
table it.
I think this is not a, I don't think we'll have, this is not a aid of community thing. I know that's not the easiest thing to say, but I think we have to pass on that.
In the past, I was here, I think it was Tom that kind of made the motion, and then there was a decision made that we would have to limit outside of data.
Correct.
Donations. Doesn't can't change, but that's what the council decided at that time.
Right. And with our funding right now, I think we have to.
Agree. Any disagreement? Okay. Table. Northern States Power Company Capacity Confirmation Agreement.
So this is an ongoing, it's with Excel, as we utilize them a lot. The biggest thing is the pricing has increased from $2,250 to $3,589. It's driven by the market fundamentals and scarcity of the product and across the estimated sold footprint. That's our explanation of why it's increased. Other than that, nothing has changed. We really don't have an option. We need this, or we don't have a backup.
Second. Okay, motion from Sean, second from Casey, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, committee updates, Public Works.
Didn't meet.
Public Safety.
Well, like I said, we discussed the SRO, we talked about the name, we also discussed the ambulance, or the first responder.
Yep.
I think those are the 2 main things we discussed. I don't think we do anything else.
He's got, did they hire a new officer? Or is he still in the process of
We
doing
did
that?
an interview, and we extended a contingency, so to speak, and it'll come to council if and when this individual passes their
Okay, yeah, that's what I
So
want.
it's still listed as an open position right now. I had a great interview, looking to move to Ada. Steve and the guys really seem to like him, so he's doing some ride-arounds right now with the hopes of potentially to get this training goes a lot faster.
Okay. EDA, we got 2 resolutions on board, both in the amount of $30,000. I need a motion. We'll start with resolution 2024-03-01.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Kim, a second from Sean. Any questions? Again, this all comes out of our revolving 26,000, so if there's any new businesses, or existing businesses that are looking to expand, reach out to one of the members or Ashley or myself. And the application process is very light, it's not extensive, and again, we can loan up to $30,000, which is a huge shot in the arm for small businesses, obviously, right now, so.
Plus it's what, 1%?
So, resolution 2024-03-02 by roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Casey? Kim?
Aye.
Resolution 2024-03-02 passes. Beautification committee?
Yep, we met, a couple projects and stuff, Eagle Scout project complete,